Hey friend, today we're talking hormones and weight loss. Now, if you have tried every single diet and you've done all of the workouts in the gym and you're still left feeling frustrated that nothing is happening and you can't seem to lose weight, or perhaps you've lost weight but you've struggled to maintain a healthy weight, then today's episode is definitely for you. Go and grab a pen and paper. You're going to want to take some notes. Let's dig in. Hey friend, welcome to the Fit Productive Mum podcast. I'm your host SJ. I'm an outspoken women's health advocate, productivity guru, daughter of the king, and a 40-something mum to a sassy, independent daughter. If you feel stressed out, overwhelmed, and hate what you see in the mirror, then that stops right here. I'm here to arm you with the knowledge you need to better understand your mind and body so that you can live a life free of diets, fitness fads, and comparison. If you're ready to commit to making yourself a priority, to reconnect with your body and be a present, productive parent, then this is the podcast for you. Grab that superfood smoothie and let's dig in. Hey friend, now the more I learn about my own body, the female body, the more frustrated I feel sometimes that nobody told me this stuff when I was younger. But obviously I can't hop back in a time machine and change that. But we're in such a privileged position that we have this huge wealth of knowledge at our fingertips now that we really can start to understand better what is going on in our bodies, particularly for us as women, because there really is this gender bias when it comes to health. Not enough is known about women's bodies, how complicated we are, what's going on with our hormones. And it's really crucial that we take responsibility for our own learning. And you're already doing that because you are here listening to this right now. Now, I just want to say, of course, this podcast is not a replacement for medical information. If you have genuine concerns about your health, you should absolutely go and see a medical professional. Now, what this podcast is me learning, digging into topics around diet, nutrition, exercise, stress, hormones, all of the juicy stuff that I absolutely love to geek out on. And what I'm doing is taking that information and putting it into small bite-sized chunks in the hope that it's going to help you and have an impact on your life. So today we are talking hormones and weight loss. And as I mentioned earlier, I really, really wish that somebody had told me this stuff when I was younger, because we really don't get taught enough about our hormones. And particularly for women, we don't get taught about our menstrual cycle, perimenopause, menopause, childbirth, all of these things. Our hormones are involved in pretty much every single aspect of your health, from sexual function to your growth, your development, your mood, your appetite, your metabolism, everything. And this is why we really, really need to understand what is going on with our hormones. Because if our hormones are out of whack, if they're dysregulated, and if your body is releasing too little or too much of one hormone, it can really impact your health, including and quite significantly your body weight. So if you're on a weight loss journey, you need to understand your hormones because it's going to help you to achieve your goals. We're going to start off by looking at the role that hormones play when it comes to how full we feel. Because hormones regulate your appetite and help your body maintain your energy levels. Now, one of the key things that we know that goes on in our bodies and the reason why we eat is to give us energy. So we have hormones in our body that stimulate hunger. So if our energy levels are low, our body's going to think, oh, do you know what? I need some food. I need some energy. So it will release some hormones into your body to stimulate hunger, which will then make you want to go and eat something. And then there are other hormones that will tell you when you've had enough to eat. So that's going to then reduce the amount of food that you consume. Now, of course, if these are imbalanced, this is going to have a huge impact on your weight. It's going to impact your control when it comes to your appetite, and it's going to really likely lead to some kind of weight gain or weight loss. Now, this is quite a big topic, and there's a lot of hormones that are involved in this process, in this system. And I'm going to dig into that, and I'm going to do a whole separate episode around hormones and hunger and feeling full. But just for today, because we're doing sort of an overview, just have an understanding that your hormones are involved in you feeling hungry and when you feel full. And if those are not balanced, if they're a bit out of whack, I talk about the hormones being out of whack because that's how I feel sometimes, then it's going to impact on your weight. Of course, it's going to have an impact on your weight. And as I mentioned, we're going to dig into that in more detail in another podcast episode. Okay, let's move on and talk about how hormones influence body weight. Now, fat storage and breakdown are controlled by hormones in your body. And hormones also influence the amount of energy that you expend, i.e. the number of calories your body burns daily. And you've probably heard about people talking about metabolism, having a high metabolism, a low metabolism. God made us all uniquely and individually. So the different hormones that we have in our body are going to impact your metabolism. And fluctuations in hormone levels will lead to weight gain or weight loss, as well as body fat accumulating in certain areas. And you know what I'm talking about, that body fat, that stubborn belly fat is linked to your hormones. Unsurprisingly, it's linked to your hormones. So this is why our hormones really are so important, and it's so important for us to understand what's going on. Now, within our body, we have a gland called the thyroid gland, and the thyroid secretes hormones that are responsible for regulating your metabolism. And when the thyroid gland is overactive, it releases too much thyroid hormone, and it puts the body into what is known as a hypermetabolic state. So that means where it's burning too many calories. And this is also known as hyperthyroidism. So for people who are struggling to put on weight, one of the reasons why they could be eating like loads and loads of food, but really, really struggling to put on weight, is actually down to the thyroid and that being overactive. Now, of course, this can work the opposite way. And there is the possibility that for some people they can have an underactive thyroid, and this is characterized by having low thyroid hormone levels, which leads to less energy expenditure, and this is known as hypothyroidism. And this is why people with hypothyroidism are more likely to gain weight, whereas people with hyperthyroidism are less likely to gain weight and more likely to lose weight. So it's just an overview of how your thyroid can have an impact on your weight. And this is a conversation to have with your doctor. If you are somebody who is really struggling to put on weight, or if you are really, really struggling to lose weight and you are, being sensible with what you eat and you're exercising and you just really, really can't seem to take control of it, if you like, then this is a conversation maybe to go and have with a medical professional who can check your hormone levels and see if this is a problem for you. Now, another hormone that is quite important when it comes to our weight that you've probably heard of is insulin. And this is a hormone that does impact our body weight because cells need insulin to use glucose for energy, and then also to store it for later use in the form of glycogen. So that's how we get energy. And insulin is required for storing energy as fat, and it's linked to the fat being stopped from breaking down. So it can also support and help to maintain a healthy body weight. Now, keeping insulin levels within a standard range is critical. And if you know somebody, or perhaps you are somebody who has diabetes, you know this stuff. And chronically elevated insulin levels can lead to insulin resistance. And this is where cells in the body stop responding in the right way to insulin. And human and animal studies indicate that this may lead to the impairment of hunger and fullness hormones. It can also lead to an excessive fat uptake by organs like the liver and a compromised metabolism. So insulin is another hormone that does impact our weight, whether that is putting it on or losing it. Now, another hormone that you've likely heard of that impacts our body weight is cortisol. And this is a steroid hormone, and it plays an important role in your body's stress response. And you've probably heard of this where, we talk about, and I've certainly talked about this on the podcast before, about how if our cortisol levels are elevated, this can actually be linked to weight gain. So if your body is in some kind of stress response, then your body can distribute cortisol, and that cortisol can then redistribute fat to the abdominal region, which can increase your appetite, especially your appetite for those high energy, really, like those really comforting foods that are rich in fat and sugar. So think comfort eating, think wanting to eat all the chocolate, all the donuts, all the crisps, all of the things that can actually be linked to the levels of cortisol that you have in your body when you're stressed. So if you are somebody who eats when they're stressed, that's linked to your hormones because you're feeling stressed, so you eat, and it sort of helps your body to feel less stressed because it thinks that it's getting like food that it needs, but then obviously we know that doesn't help, so it ends up being a bit of a vicious cycle. Another hormone that we're going to definitely be digging into a lot on this podcast is estrogen. And we talk about estrogen a lot when we are having conversations around cycle syncing. So estrogen is a sex hormone, and it influences the amount of fat in the body. And the way that it does that is it regulates glucose and lipid metabolism. And by that, I mean it regulates the sugars and the fat that your body uses as energy. So there are two ways that estrogen can work in your body. So if you have high levels of estrogen, it can trigger the pancreas to secrete more insulin. And I've just been talking about insulin in the body and the impact that it has. The body cells are constantly signaled by insulin to convert sugar in the blood to energy. Now, after some time, the cells, like I mentioned earlier, can become resistant to these insulin signals, and the condition is called insulin resistance, which is what I mentioned before. So in this case, if you've got high levels of estrogen, it can trigger your body to create more insulin, which then means that sugar is not broken down or consumed properly. And the result is often high blood sugar and weight gain. So already you can start to see the connection between the different hormones, how they work together, how it really is about having balance, making sure that our hormones are balanced so that they're working correctly. Because if they're not working correctly, it's going to have an impact on our body, on our weight, how we feel mentally. It's just this incredible system that when it works well is amazing. Like God created this amazing being But when we're not looking after it and when things are out of balance, it can have a really, really negative impact. So you can see from that, when our estrogen levels are high, it can cause problems. And also, on the other end of the scale, if our estrogen levels are low, for example, during perimenopause or menopause, when our estrogen levels start to drop, because the ovaries no longer are producing perhaps enough estrogen, the body looks at other sources of estrogen. And one source of estrogen is fat cells in the body that we have in our body. So now this is where our body's being perhaps a little bit too clever, because it's thinking, okay, I don't have enough estrogen. So it turns to the fat cells, and to try and regain some kind of balance, the body starts converting all the energy sources into fat, which leads to weight gain, especially around the abdomen area. And we've spoken before about the menopause belly fat. And this can be compounded by the fact that with age, metabolism, the ability to exercise, that kind of thing also reduces. So it creates a vicious cycle of weight gain and linking that to the reduction in estrogen as we age, as we go through menopause. Now, while normal levels of estrogen cause weight gain in the hips and thighs, that's normal for women. After menopause, the dropping estrogen levels lead to that weight gain in the abdomen area, with the fat getting accumulated in what's known as the abdominal cavity, which we know is not good for us. Now, that really is like such a basic overview of some of the hormones and how they're working in our bodies. And honestly, my friend, the more I talk to you, the more I talk to the women around me, and the more I learn about women's bodies, the more I realize how important it is for us to know how our hormones work, especially if you are on some kind of health journey, and you're probably here because you're on a weight loss journey. Now, over the coming weeks, and the direction that we're going to be going with this podcast is really, we're going to be digging into hormones. And I want to share with you what I've been learning about how to balance your hormones, how to look after them, and how to optimize our hormones for our health, and how to use this ultimately to support you if you are on a weight loss journey. And we're going to be digging into 4 key areas when it comes to our hormones, and learning about how they impact you, and giving you all the strategies that you need to help balance them to ultimately optimize your health and lose weight if that is your goal. So we're going to be looking at nutrition, we're going to be looking at exercise, we're going to be looking at stress, and we're also going to be digging into the topic of endocrine disruptors, because all of those impact the hormones in our bodies, particularly 2 of the hormones that I've been talking to you about today, cortisol and estrogen, and also the insulin that is linked to that process. And it's really important that we address these areas in our life so that you can then get the goal, the health goal that you want to achieve. Now, I totally understand this can feel like a lot of information to process, but I encourage you to keep coming back and keep listening to me, because I'm going to take each of these areas and I'm going to break them down into really simple, actionable steps that you can take to help balance your hormones, which then in turn is going to help you if you are on a weight loss journey. And I'm going to be sharing lots of this information in the podcast. But if you're already thinking that this is something that you want to dig into, I really recommend that you go and grab my Fit Productive Mum Fitness Framework. This is the course that I created that helps you to take back control of your time by digging into your schedule, finding out where you're wasting time, that teaches you systems that are going to get you super productive, so that you can free up some time in your schedule to start looking after your health and making your health a priority. Because I know one of the reasons why you're not taking action on your health is because you are overwhelmed and you're juggling all of the things and you're lacking the time. So this is why we dig into that productivity side of things, to free up the time in your schedule to then learn the information that you need in the course around your nutrition and your exercise. There is also a unit all around cycle syncing that teaches you the fundamentals of cycle syncing and how you can use that to really optimize your health. As part of the framework, you get 4 one-to-one coaching sessions with me, and we start by setting your goal, and then we start digging into your schedule, and I'm there to hold you accountable. We check in once a month, but you also have access to me via Voxer as you are going through the coaching process. As well as the online course and the one-to-one coaching sessions, you also get the digital download of my planners. So you get the She Rises planner, which is a 3-month planner that has space for daily planning. And you also get my fitness planner, which is the planner that you can use to schedule your workouts, to do all your meal prepping, and to track lots and lots of healthy habits like sleep and water. By the end of the 3 months, you're going to know exactly what your schedule looks like and where you're going to make the time to start making your health a priority. You're going to have a better understanding of what your body needs when it comes to nutrition. You're going to have a really good plan for your exercise and know where you're going to fit your exercise in. And you're also going to have an understanding of your hormones, and you're going to know how to optimize your hormones to work with your body rather than against it, by taking back control of your busy, hectic schedule and reducing stress and making time for yourself and understanding the nutrition that your body needs, the exercise, the best way to exercise for your body, and how you can start to balance your hormones. I know and I believe that with this process, you will be successful in that goal that you have for your health. The link to the fitness framework is in the show notes. If you have any questions about it, please jump into my email inbox. The link to my email is in the show notes. I would be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I hope it has given you some food for thought, and I hope you're going to keep coming back and learning more about the amazing body that you have, the hormones that you have working in your body, how to look after your body, how to optimize your health to achieve that goal that you have. Have an amazing week, my friend. I look forward to coming back and chatting with you next week. I hope you loved today's episode and that you learned something, and I pray it blessed you in some way. If so, take a moment to share this with a friend, and I would love it if you could take just 30 seconds for me to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, because it's the only way I know you like the show, and I love hearing from you too.